My name is Aysha2, and my poem is about my apartment complex called Lord Byron. We were staying after school to finish photoshopping for a project. And I love Photoshop. I love how I can take a photo captured from a lens and adjust it to my liking, how I can edit the brightness, saturation, and hue, how I can crop out the unnecessary background, blur out what's unimportant, which is why I was hesitant when you offered me a ride home that day. Because for years I tried so hard to crop out my background, blur out what's unimportant, but I eventually agreed. So I awkwardly sat in the back seat of your father's car, exchanging greetings with the back of his head, his face hidden behind the wheel. And as I expressed the directions to where I lived, I started to notice on each side of me the hills that made up my town, as well as the concave cavities naturally formed by erosion, deposition of sediment that lied in between them. And as your father drove down a hill that entered into Lord Byron, the hues started to subdue, the crops started to undo, the suburban setting became saturated with Section 8 brick buildings from 1972, and like the depression these apartment complexes sat on, my heart started to sink. He laughed. They all looked the same. I didn't take it too hard. He slowed down to the entrance of my building, then asked, "Are these housing projects?" I told him, "No, it's just Lord Byron," then exited out of the car, making sure I said thank you before closing the door. But that was the hardest thank you I ever uttered to someone. They say Burlington is white collar, but his curious question made me feel like I was choking in a dog collar. I said to myself, it could have been worse. I thanked God he didn't ask me where my parents worked. But after 6 years of acting like a rock pushing against a socioeconomic mountain, I started to feel the erosion. His questions were corrosive to my confidence, his glares acidic to my self-esteem, but I refused to allow his words weather me down, because even though I live closer to the ground, I am not unnecessary background.